Hello, family. Thank you so much for tuning into this channel. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Michelle J. Rice, your biblical love coach, empowering Christian women to endure in faith and love, especially when it's hard. And it's always my desire to provide a biblical perspective because the Bible really does help us manage ourselves, our relationships, and our lives. And I'm also here to serve you or your organization. I'm a certified life coach, licensed minister, and speaker, and my new ebook, Record of Right, is a resource for Christian wives who are looking to cultivate love and appreciation in their marriages. And here's the fun part. For now, each book purchase grants you access to the online community we're developing to connect you with other wives who are on the same journey to enrich their marriage and make it last. So, click the link below to either purchase your book or to book me. Now, let's get into the video. Dinner and Dating is a real talk podcast intended to help Christian women invite God into their love lives and to encourage discipleship. Now, in this episode, I actually start off by confessing my own fault because I was off schedule with this brand new podcast. And in this episode, I just reinforce the importance of obedience to God, even when it comes to our romantic pursuits. So if it blesses you, please let me know with a like or comment and share it with someone else. Enjoy. Hey, y'all. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm so sorry. Did y'all see my apology video? No, for real. I am so sorry that I missed y'all yesterday. And I'm so grateful that God, He knows how to fix stuff. I'm telling you. And He knows how to set it up. I promise you, He's so good at it. I'm putting on this necklace because I need to remember to reference it. And I'm putting on my MS awareness bracelet because I also need to remember to talk about that. Matter of fact, we can talk about that now. So March is MS Awareness Month. If you don't know what MS is, it is multiple sclerosis. And it is a diagnosis that has been associated with me for the past almost 2 years. April 6th, 2024 is when I was diagnosed. And there are some things that come along with having multiple sclerosis that just did not do me well. Okay, it's the reason why I'm coming on here late. You hear? Late, because this was supposed to happen last night. So please forgive me. I love y'all in real life. I did not miss it on purpose. And even because if I was gonna miss it on purpose, I would have let y'all know that I was gonna be here. So here's what happened. And we're gonna talk about obedience, right? So I gotta start with my confession. I gotta start with my confession because this is very important. So okay, so with MS, it's a whole lot, y'all. So help me, Lord, help me to focus my brain. So with MS, one of the first things that I noticed when like my health started kind of shifting and changing is that my brain just wasn't functioning the same way it used to. And I was pretty silent about it because it just kind of started happening and I just noticed it. And so I didn't know I had MS at this time, but once I was diagnosed, it started to make sense of certain things that I'd been experiencing. And the main thing that stood out was that I thought that I had developed ADHD. And I didn't know much about adult ADHD, but I did know that it was a thing. And so I found out later that typically if you have adult ADHD, you had ADHD at some point before that too. However, something was going on with my brain and I knew it wasn't, my brain wasn't functioning the way that it used to. My memory had been declining ever since my concussion. I had a concussion in 2019 in March. And it was a mild concussion, but a concussion nonetheless. That's a whole different story for another day. But I did start to notice more dramatically that my memory had started declining. I've always had a pretty good memory. Probably wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. And so my memory had started changing. And I just thought maybe this is something related to the concussion. But I noticed that I couldn't really focus well at work anymore. Like I could kind of do what I needed to do, but my memory was starting to affect the work that I did. So if I didn't put it on a calendar with a reminder that would pop up and give me a notification, I would not know that it was happening. And that was new for me because typically I still have everything up here. which is probably part of the problem, is that I hold a lot of things up here. So my brain was probably in overdrive. And there were just lots of things that I could say that could probably have pointed to that issue. But I'm telling you this because my memory and my disobedience to God with regards to making sure that I have set up reminders and things like that to go live on Monday nights at 6:30 is a part of the reason why I missed it. So the Lord started telling me to go live once a week a long time ago. So I've really been disobedient for a long time. I see one person watching. I don't know who you are. So y'all, sometimes I can't see on Facebook, and it has like a 2-minute delay typically when you're live. So, so if you're here, just say something because the comments will pop up. So just say, hey, you don't have to say anything. You can just wave, or if you want to put in a comment, just let me know that you're here. But I do, because I do want to acknowledge the people who are joining me. But even if you don't want to be acknowledged, that's okay. I just thank you for being here. So, so ultimately, I have learned that if I don't write it down and if I don't set up some type of reminder, some type of system of being reminded, I could very easily lose it, even if it's something that's been on my mind, because the dinner and dating series had been on my mind. It was something that I was excited about. I was thinking about, topics and how I'm going to kind of swing it. If I'm going to just kind of be like, hey, whatever the Lord puts on my heart, we're just going to talk about that. Am I going to, how am I going to prepare for it? Am I going to take, and I wanted to put out a post to ask for your questions, and different things. So anyway, it was a whole thing. But even though my mind has been on it, it doesn't mean that the time can come and I'm just going to automatically remember. And I have on my whiteboard is something I typically read every morning when I am doing my stretches. I didn't stretch yesterday. This is also, some of this is just bad organization. And some of it is just like, it is challenging for me to remember things because my brain functions very differently now. So, so be patient. If you have friends, or even if you don't, because you don't know, some people who have MS don't talk about it. I haven't talked about it publicly, hardly at all, in the past 2 years, but, it's MS Awareness Month. So I'm being a bit more vocal and all that. So, and I don't know, I might be vocal from now on because, honey, I want y'all to see the miracle in the Lord heal me. Or I want you to see the miracle in how the Lord sustains me, even with the disease. So, so y'all can't rejoice. Y'all can't see the testimony if I don't tell y'all about the test. So, I'm saying be patient with your friends with MS, because sometimes we just don't remember, even if it was something that we talked about, all of that, like it's just gone sometimes. And so, so I did not set a reminder. I didn't put it in my phone, on my calendar. I didn't set like a clock, alarm. It was just on my whiteboard. It's on my whiteboard Mondays at 6:30 to go live on Facebook. It is on my whiteboard. But if I miss my stretches, which I did yesterday, then I'm not even getting that reminder that day. So that was part of the reason why I missed it. My responsibility. I take full responsibility, y'all. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just telling y'all what had happened, right? So then, and that was the thing. Like God told me to start going live on Mondays at 6:30. I should have immediately put it in my calendar, because I know that I can easily forget, because I know that I need reminders, right? So I really should have obeyed God weeks ago. Dare I say months ago, when he started telling me to go live once a week, period. But even in this season, as my schedule has changed, like Mondays at 6:30, it's been very obvious to me for the past couple of weeks. So I disobeyed God the first week because I didn't go live on Monday at 6:30, and I didn't make it up. So I'm trying to at least make it up to y'all this time. But the reality is, that's what happened. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want to talk about obedience, but I'm giving y'all the setup, and this is my full confession for real. Like, I disobeyed God months ago by just not going live once a week, period. Then I disobeyed God by, like, when he told me to start going live on Mondays at 6:30. I missed the first Monday when he gave me, it was like around like the beginning of Lent, a couple weeks into Lent, and is when he told me to like start going live on Monday. So I missed the first one. I went live last Monday, like last week. And so I was obedient then. But then I had plenty of opportunities to put it on my calendar to make sure it was a priority, because I should have prioritized it like I prioritized anything else. It should have gone on my calendar when God said it. It should have gone on my calendar. And because it did not, it not only affected my level of obedience to God, it affected us. I made a commitment. I said that I would be here at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday nights. I wasn't here. I don't know how many people were waiting for the link to pop up. I don't know how many people needed to be blessed last night and they weren't, because I didn't show up, because my disobedience in small things, right? I'm not even talking about obedience to God in big things. Lord, absolutely, I want to obey you. And sure, I have a condition, but I know I have the condition. And I know what I need to do in order to make sure that I stay committed to things. I have to be reminded. I have to set alarms, and I didn't do it. So I'm saying this to you. I'm being transparent. I'm letting y'all know that I'm flawed and I got faults and I disobey God and I struggle to do it just like anybody else. And it's important, because you need to know that your obedience in small ways can lead to your obedience in large ways. And here's the wild part. I preached on Sunday at my church. I was literally talking about obedience in 20-minute increments. It's a concept originated by Elizabeth Elliott that I heard Priscilla Shire talking about last week on her podcast with her son, JC. And they were talking about purpose and how Priscilla was saying, like, very often we ask God, like, what's your purpose for my life? Like, we looking for purpose for a whole lifetime. And God is, and Elizabeth Elliott, who's now deceased, but she had written in a book, like, if we just obey God for 20 minutes at a time, we will see the purposes of God being opened up before our very eyes. We will see the purpose of God unfolding. And so my 20 minutes of obedience was missed, because I could have taken a moment to put a reminder in my phone, to put it on my calendar or whatnot. And then yesterday, so I had just preached about this on Sunday. Within 24 hours, or a little, it's probably more like 27 hours, but still, like, within a day of me literally saying that from the pulpit, I was tempted in the same way. Let me tell you how. I was obeying God little by little. I did some work for the day. Y'all know I'm close to releasing The Record of Rights, my first book. It's a guided journal for wives. And so there was some work that needed to be done. I took care of my work. And then one of my best friends, y'all, she had a death in her circle. And I knew that she was going to need to be very present for this person who was more directly related to the deceased. And so I also know that she's got her mom's birthday party coming up this week. Like, just stuff is happening. So the Lord told me to call her and see what she needed. How can I help? So called my sister. She needed me to go to the store for her, pick up a couple of things because she was cooking food. Got it. Go to the store, deliver the stuff. I was able to get a walk-in the neighborhood because it was a beautiful sunny day. It was awesome, right? So obedience is going well, right? I'm doing all right. Then she invites me to go to work with her. And so there's reasons why I wanted to, right? But when I prayed about it in the moment, the Lord told me not to go. And I was like, low key in my head, like bargaining with the Lord, like, well, Lord, I'm trying to, kind of see if I can pick up some work, because I'm going to be transparent with y'all. Since my diagnosis, I have not worked the type of work that I used to do, which was mostly with like social work and just very, very involved. Like, I just can't handle that type of work anymore. So I've been looking for just small things to do to earn income. And the Lord is being very intentional about me working for him and serving y'all, right? And so, but I've still, in various ways, still been trying to, I'm practical, I'm human, and bills still need to be paid, amen? So I've been looking for, small jobs or gigs or things like that, and really just haven't found anything that is conducive to just where I am in this season of life. And so, but I'm just like, she's got this other job that I'm just like, okay, let me tag along and see if this might be something that I can actually manage. And so I wanted to check it out. So I'm bargaining with God, even though he said no. In my mind, I'm thinking I don't have any restrictions. I don't, there's nothing I can think of that would prevent me from being able to go to work with her. And it was just going to be real quick. She just needed to stop by there, do something real quick. It wasn't even going to be an hour, right? So I'm thinking, okay, cool. So I'm bargaining with God. He done already said, no, don't go, right? I'm bargaining. He said, okay, you can go, but take your own car. I go outside and say, hey, I'll trail you. And she's like, you don't want to ride? You don't just want to roll with me? And I'm like, well, if you get caught up at work, something like that happens, I don't want you to have to bring me all the way back here, and she was like, girl, trust me, I ain't gonna get caught up. I'm literally going and coming back, blah, 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 all that stuff. I'm like, okay, fine, cool, I go. Disobedience, y'all. He was even giving me grace to go, but he was like, drive your own car. What I'm telling you is, even though in that moment, the Lord said no, and even was like, okay, cool, but under these conditions, I still did what I wanted to do. I still sat on the throne of my own heart. I still decided that my wisdom was sufficient, more sufficient than his. Big mistake. Because guess what I believe God would have done? And I don't know. He ain't say this. I'm just saying how I see God working in my life. If I were to have simply obeyed him, most likely he would have reminded me somehow of the dinner and dating series. Because even before I left to go and do the thing that he was giving me grace to do, and he did tell me to do for my sister to help her, for some reason, it seemed like I needed to grab my selfie stick. Excuse me. My little miniature one, my compact one. And so I was like, I don't even know why I'm grabbing this. I was like, well, maybe I'll shoot some content, for reels or whatever while I'm out. And so I had it with me, and it was in the front seat of my car. So had I driven my own car, he probably would have reminded me, oh, there's content that you need to create. Most like, I just feel like something would have reminded me to go live yesterday with y'all. I feel like he was just going to do it, but I missed opportunities, and I missed something. I missed being obedient to something that he told me to do. He told me to go live on Mondays at 6:30. I knew I was supposed to be here for y'all, and I wasn't. Why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all of this because even in your dating life, you are going to face decisions where you need to be obedient to God in the moment, but you are going to be tempted to do your own thing. That's what happens a lot in dating. We don't talk about it, but it happens so much. It happens so much. I mean, let's just be real. How many times have you been in a situation where you felt like, I want to go on this date with this person, and he wants to hang out at the crib. He wants to do some Netflix and chilling, right? And there's kind of like this conviction of the Holy Spirit that you feel where it's like, you can go out with him, but don't go to his house. Y'all need to go somewhere like public. And you might think, well, Lord, nothing's going to happen. I've been doing well on my celibacy journey. I've been doing blah, 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 this, that. And you're thinking in the terms of, oh, well, the Lord is probably just telling me not to go to his house so I won't be tempted to have sex. But the Lord might just be saying, no, I'm the daddy, you're the child, do what I said. There's something more. And even if that is just the thing, like he wants you to avoid that. You might think that not having sex that night is the victory. And sometimes God is doing something completely different or completely more. And what I believe that God is saying, even in small acts of obedience, he just wants you to learn his voice. That's a thing. The Bible talks about how God's sheep, how Jesus' sheep know his voice, and another they will not answer. They will run from another voice when they hear it. And it's kind of how shepherds work. Look up shepherds. I just want you to do your own little Google search on shepherds, and you can certainly look up the scriptures in the Gospels. Is where it's talked about more so. The Synoptic Gospels. I feel like more so Matthew. Oh, I should have had my tools with me, y'all. I got to start bringing my tools, because anybody who knows me knows that I am I'm a scripture hopper. And so there are certain things that come to mind that the Holy Spirit will bring to my mind, and I'm like, Lord, I need to know where to find it. So hopefully it's in here. But see, they ain't got. Oh, yes, they do. I'm gonna say, see, they ain't got the word sheep in here. Yeah, John 10:27 is one. So I'm gonna read this to y'all, but I implore you, just do a quick little study on sheep and shepherds. So in John chapter 10, verse 27, I'll actually start at verse 25. Jesus answered, I did tell you, but you do not believe. Isn't that reminiscent of our conversation? The Lord told me not to go with my sister or to at least drive my own car, but I did not believe. And sometimes we don't think about it like that. The Lord might be telling you to go on a date with a person, but he might be telling you where to go. But then when you feel like you got something better, that means that you're not believing God. You're believing in yourself. You're believing, oh Lord, I got it. It's cool. I can go to the crib and Netflix and chill. We're just gonna watch a little Bridgerton. Bridgerton is definitely not the show to watch when you're Netflix and chilling, right? But the reality is, like, you might think that the main thing you need to do is just not have sex or whatever, but the main thing you need to do is obey God. Because if you obey him in just that little small thing, like, yeah, we can still go out, but I'd actually rather go out tonight. And you don't even have to. Sometimes I think that in dating, we also struggle with this. Let me finish this thought. You might think that is just one thing, but God could be just teaching you obedience, because obedience in small things allows you to be obedient in big things. And if you are dating and you plan to get married, even if you don't plan to get married, even if you're just kind of dating just so you have companionship, like, you will need to obey God in small things to keep you from getting caught up in big things. So you want to make sure that you are actually believing God, because your obedience is tied to your belief. We just read it. Jesus answered, and let me kind of go up a little bit, because I like to give context. So this is happening during a festival. Okay, let me just read this part. So in verse 22 of John chapter 10, it says, then came the festival of dedication at Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was in the temple courts walking in Solomon's colonnade. The Jews who were the Jews who were there gathered around him, saying, how long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly. And so they're trying to see if Jesus is actually the Messiah, because there's been a lot of conflict, right? Jesus is teaching Jesus' teaching ruffled a lot of feathers. Let's just be real. Jesus was kicking up a lot of sand when he was walking around the earth, especially between ages 30 and 33, when he was doing a lot of his more public ministry. And so a lot of people were like, bro, you can't be the Messiah. But a lot of people were wanting to accuse him of being a blasphemer so they can murder him, right? And then other people were actually really genuinely curious. Like, bro, are you the Messiah? Are you the one we've been waiting for? Because Jesus didn't come to earth the way that people thought he would. So this is a thing. So then that's when he answered them, like, because they were trying to ask him, like, yo, if you're the Messiah, just let us know. Like, just tell us plainly. And so then Jesus answered, I did tell you. I told you already that I was him, but you do not believe. And then he said, the works I do in my Father's name testify about me, but you do not believe because you're not my sheep. There's so much I want to unpack here, but we only got an hour. So much I want to unpack. But even when it comes to obedience, you can hear God telling you something very clearly, but if you don't believe it, you're not going to yield to his voice. And trust me, if you don't believe what God is saying, sometimes it's very indicative that you don't belong to him. Now, let me just be real. As a believer myself, I also know that you can believe in God and still not really understand who he is, what he says, what he wants you to do, all that kind of stuff, because there is a process of like sanctification that's happening throughout our lives. There's a process of growing in Christ that is happening throughout our lives. So it's also, so I don't want you to think like, oh, I didn't believe God, I did my own thing, that means I'm not a believer. It could mean that, but it could also mean that you're just maturing in your faith. It could mean that you're still learning who God is and learning how to discern his voice too. Maybe you're still learning how important obedience is. And even once you know That's why I had to do a full confession. Because even once you know, it can still be tempting to think that you know better. It can still be tempting to think that that you're going to be straight and that you can hear God's voice and still not do what he says. It can still be a temptation that you fall into, and that is sinful. I sinned against God through my obedience because I thought that I knew better. And that is typically, to a degree, an indication of my lack of belief. And not that I don't not believe that he exists. I just believe that my way is better, which that is more so idolatry. Oh, we don't want to talk about it, and we don't want to call it that, because very often we think about idolatry as like creating a god, right? Like creating something that is more important than God. But this is something I've also addressed in some sermons recently. It's like, even when you decide, like I did yesterday, like that was idolatry. That was me making a god out of myself, right? That was me saying, oh God, well, I heard what you said, but I'm gonna still do my own thing because I want to be the ruler of my life. And it's not like I had that attitude when it happened. I was just thinking, well, God is probably, I heard what you said, but it's probably not that big. It's not that big of a deal. And it wasn't sinful. Me going to be with my sister and check out something that could benefit me, even financially and stuff like that in the future, that wasn't sinful in and of itself. What was sinful is that God gave me a directive and I did not follow it. That is sin. That is teetering on the edge of idolatry. That's me saying that I know better than you, God. And anything that we put in a place of authority above the Lord or instead of him, instead of Yahweh, that's idolatry. And we have to be very careful because we can easily do it, especially in the West. Like in the Western world, like we have access to so many things. We're able to do so many things for ourselves. We're able to make a name for ourselves. But the people, look up the Tower of Babel. Look up the Tower of Babel. Read about that in the scriptures. Those people also wanted to make a name for themselves. And God is not against us doing work and being prosperous. And he's not against it. So this is not an anti-prosperity gospel necessary. Now, prosperity doctrine, that's a whole different, don't get me started on that kind of thing. But God has no problem with his children being prosperous. It's when prosperity becomes an idol that he has a problem with. But he wants his people to be rich and wealthy. There's several wealthy people that we saw were followers of God in the scriptures. But anyway, back to the heart of it all, right? Because y'all know I can go into a whole lot of different subjects with these scriptures. But I want to stay focused on obedience. You want to make sure that you're believing God more than you believe in yourself. You want to make sure that you are obeying God more than you obey your own rules or whatever, right? And then, so this is the part that I was going into. He said, my sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. I give them eternal life and they shall never perish. No one will snatch them out of my hand. And so I love how he says this, because he's very much saying like his sheep actually listen to his voice. So if you belong to the Lord, make sure that you're listening for his voice. If you are, even in dating, right? Like, I think that very often we make so many mistakes in dating because we're not letting the Lord lead. We're not listening for his voice. We listening for our own voices. We being led by our own hearts. We're being led even by other people. We letting other people shape our decision making. And we ain't saying nothing to the Lord. Ain't saying not a mumbling word to Jesus. And he's the one who knows the end from the beginning. He's the one who is all powerful, all wise, and all this. And y'all, I'm not saying this to condemn you, because I have certainly, I'm talking about this and we're doing this series because I have been guilty of trying to date without consulting the Lord. I've been guilty of thinking that I was strong enough to abstain from sexual immorality, and I wasn't. I've been guilty of asking God to lead me, but then not listening to his voice, even though I know I'm his sheep. Obedience is necessary in your dating life. It's whether you are single or married, obedience to God is always going to be important. And he's always going to call you to the carpet. God is not playing with. People think that Jesus is just some little weak dude who I don't know. So, he is not playing. He said what he said. period. And there are a lot of different things. That's why you got to read the whole Bible. I really want to. I feel like the other part that I want to tell y'all about is in Matthew. But there's so much about like where Jesus talks about his sheep knowing his voice and like them not listening to another. And like you have to be careful of the voices that you're listening to, especially when you're dating. You just have to, because if you don't, you will find yourself going astray. You will. You have to learn his voice in order to listen to it and obey. Because let me tell you, you have an active enemy who hates you. He's actually trying to kill you. Low key. Satan, his desire is to sift us as wheat, the Bible says. Satan's desire is to, like, the thief comes, like, but to, like, the thief come, what did it say? The thief comes, well, anyway, to steal, kill, and destroy. The thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Now, Satan can only do so much with people who belong to God. He got to get permission before he do anything over here. But sometimes it's the effects of Satan in the world. It's not even him. He ain't even got to really trip. Like, he can just kind of let you do your own thing. Sometimes it's just our flesh, right? So in dating, we have to be very careful to obey, because our flesh can even lead us astray. James chapter 1 talks about that. It says, like in verse 13, I'll just start here. James chapter 1 verse 13 says, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. So we have to remember, even in your dating life, it's so easy to be drawn away by your own desires and lusts. Satan ain't even got to be doing too much. It's just what you want. Some of us are so desperate to get married and so desperate to have a man or a woman that we throw our morals to the side. Or sometimes even if we maintain our morals, sometimes we dealing with dudes that or ladies who just aren't really for us. I'll say that. They're just not even for us. And this is not to say like you get to choose, because let me tell you, God gets to choose. If you let him, God gets to choose your spouse. And with dating and obedience, it can be so critical, because God may have you, he may have already designed for you to marry somebody who is not your type. Right? So, like, well, I'll just be honest. I married somebody who wasn't my type. Right? And I really didn't have a type. Not for real. I've always been very, very open to dating anyone. If you love God and love me, that's pretty much the main things. But I did have things, I wanted my guy to be family oriented or whatever. But I used to have like kind of like this preference for like tall, dark skinned men. And my husband is not tall. He is not dark skinned at all. Right. But years ago, I remember the Lord challenging me to not get caught up in that. To not get caught up in physical appearance. Like, it's okay to have a preference. It's okay to have, something that you want or desire. Like, that's fine. But God was like, but don't get caught up in that. Okay. Is what I was saying back then. This was like probably in my 20s. And I'm like, okay, I won't get caught up in that. And I never really was like caught up in that. But I think the Lord knew something about me that I didn't. And I think that very often God is doing things along our journey, like way back before the thing happens, that if we don't pay attention and if we don't yield to his will, we might find ourselves outside of it. And you don't want to find yourself outside of God's will. And he's gracious. Listen, I have experienced so much mercy from God. Like, I never want you all to approach you. I'm having these real conversations because I just know that these are real things that come up. But I never want you all to think that, that like if you make a mistake, there's no coming back from it. That's not a thing. It's just not a thing. I never want you to think that like if you do something that God won't forgive you. Not a thing. That's not a thing. Okay. And I know that very often, especially those of us who grew up in church traditions that are very strict, sometimes we can think that God is less gracious than he actually is. Sometimes we can think that God is less merciful than he actually is. And we have been misguided. God is extremely gracious. He's extremely merciful. The fact that the world is still in existence is proof of that. Because y'all do know it got destroyed before. You do know that he got so fed up back in the Old Testament. You go back to Genesis, right before the time of Noah. Right before, literally right before that. You start seeing that God was like, oh yeah, y'all doing too much. Like, in so many words, God was like, oh, y'all are taking the evil to another level. Y'all are taking the dishonor of me to another level. Y'all are doing the most. And I'm just going to start over. I'm wiping all y'all out. There was a whole entire flood that came across the entire earth. The only people who survived that flood were Noah. His wife was not married at the time. Pretty sure Noah was still married. Pretty sure it was Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives. That's it. That's it. Nobody else survived. Even the animals who were alive got destroyed, except the animals that God had Noah gather into the ark. So the fact that this world still exists is proof of God's mercy and love. It's proof. Because, and let me just forewarn you, this earth is going to pass away. This is another reason why obedience, even in your dating life, is important. Because your obedience is going to increase your faith. This necklace has a mustard seed in it. I don't know that y'all can see, but y'all see that little dot that's at the top, like right here? That is a mustard seed. The mustard seed is the smallest seed in the world, but it yields the largest garden plant in the world. It's a garden plant, but it can grow to be like even in excess of 10 feet tall. So from such a tiny seed, it grows and grows and grows and grows to be this large plant. So, and not even just a plant, it kind of turns into a tree that even birds can perch a nest in. And I'm talking about, this is something that we get food from. I'm telling you this because your obedience is going to help your faith grow. Your obedience is going to make sure that you can keep your mind on eternal things and not temporary things that are going to pass away. Your obedience is going to help you even in your dating life. Even in your dating life, because you need to have faith while you date. I know you know that, because some of you have given up on dating already. You tired of it already. Obedience helps your faith grow. And here's what happens in your dating life. The more you date, the more God will illuminate his purpose to you. I was talking about the 20 minutes of obedience, right? Like, how do you think that people come to get married? Like, they just stay in their relationships. They stay in it. Through the hard times, through the fun times, through the arguments, through the disagreements, through the personality differences. They continue to come back and work on it because there's something inside of them that says that this relationship is worth it. And when God can start to grow your faith, it'll help you kind of stay in the game, even when dating is frustrating. Because I know the dating pool has pee in it, right? Like, it's, that's what people say. Like, I understand. Like, some people urinate in the pool. Some people spit in the pool. I know the dating pool is not necessarily the best in the world, but you need faith even in order to endure it. And if you're not building your faith, which comes by hearing the word of God, if you're not building your faith in God, you will give up on dating. And if you give up on dating, it's very possible that you'll be giving up on the marriage that God has for you. Or, like, if you're not building your faith, you will just you'll just take the next best thing. Right? Like you'll be in a relationship that you know is probably not the best for you and that God didn't ordain. Because sometimes you can be in a relationship that might not seem like the best. You may have had relationships that were better, but you know that God is calling you to be with that person. You know that God has graced you to love that person. But you will mess around, and if your faith in God is not strong, you will miss out on the marriage that God has for you because you're thinking about something else. Remember how I told you that that the Lord was teaching me to not get caught up in like the physical appearance and the things that I desired? I was talking to a woman at my church at the time. This was when I was like in my early 20s. And she was very tall. Her husband was very short. And I remember saying like, oh, I want to marry a man who's like 6 feet tall, or taller. But I was like, but even if they're not 6 feet, I'm not tripping. I just want them to be taller than me, preferably, especially when I have on heels, because I used to wear heels a lot. And so I'm like, I need them to be like my height and then at least be able to clear 3 to 4 inches. Right. And so I remember her saying to me, girl, don't you get caught up in that stuff. She said, I used to think the same way, and I almost missed out on the best thing that's ever happened to me. And she and her husband, I can't even see them not being together. I just can't even see it. They've been together now over 30 years. Like, they're amazing. They're an amazing couple, just a sweet couple. And it's like, you know how when you meet certain people, you just can't even imagine that they were ever apart? They're kind of like those type of people. And I remember that stuck with me. To not get caught up in the height difference. Like, even if you are taller than your husband when he goes, so what? If that's who God has for you, don't mess around and miss out on the best thing that ever happened to you. So obedience, even in dating, happens on a small scale. Building your faith throughout your single life is going to help you to make sure that you don't mess it up when you're getting ready to miss out on the best thing that ever happened to you. Or one of the best things. Jesus is really the best thing that ever happened to you. So you got that covered if you believe in Jesus. But like the reality is, obedience in dating is necessary because you don't know what your future holds, but God does. You don't know what the next phase is going to look like, but God does. You don't know what God is even building in your heart, but He knows. So that's why obedience, even in 20-minute increments, or obedience on a small scale, is super important. Choosing where you go out on dates, like seeking the Lord about where you go. Like, fellas, if you're inviting a woman on a date, like, make sure, like, you want to make sure that you are inviting her to a place that's going to be comfortable and safe. You want to make sure that you are comfortable and safe. And ladies, when you are accepting a date invitation, you need to pray about it. You need to pray about it. And you can even say that to the dude. And I know that sometimes we're not always as comfortable saying certain things, but like it doesn't have to be, this little game, right? You might not feel as comfortable kind of talking about your faith out loud yet or whatever, things like that. But so you might not want to say to the dude, oh, I appreciate that invitation. Let me pray about it. Like, maybe that's not a thing that you want to say. I think that it's still cool to say. However, and I think at this big age where I am and just the things that I've learned about God, like if I were ever thrust, like, Lord willing, I'll never have to be a widow. But if I ever become a widow and it's, a season where maybe I'm out there in the dating field again, like that's something that I think I could take into my future that I didn't always take into my past. But like, it's okay to just let somebody know that you want to pray about the invitation. Or if you are not sure, because sometimes it comes during a phone conversation, you have to kind of you kind of want to respond right then in the moment. But sometimes if it's a written invitation for a date, like in your DMs, via text or something like that, it's easy for you to pray about it first before you respond. But if you are having a live conversation with somebody and they invite you out on a date, you can just say, oh, that sounds really exciting. Let me double check my calendar. Or let me get back to you on that. Because you do need to check the calendar. You do need to make sure that, it's a time that you're available and, the location is going to work with, what you might have planned before and after. So that's a real thing, right? You want to check your calendar. And when you check in your calendar, pray and ask God, like, hey, God, is this a date that I should go on? If so, is this place where you want us to go? Like, is that cool? And if not, like, what other recommendation do I have? So don't just go back to the man and say, actually, that doesn't work for me. Come back with something else. Actually, that doesn't work for me. But I would love to go out same day, same time, but can we go here? Or, hey, and you don't have to say that doesn't work for me. You can say something like, actually, I would love to go out with you. Can we actually go here instead? You know, whatever. Maybe it's a different restaurant. Maybe it's an event that you know is coming up. Can we go here instead? I was actually really interested in going to this that night at that time. Right? Because you can find another event that's happening, especially now it's warming up. And I know, it may snow over the next little while, but like, don't be drawn away so much by your own lusts, right? And your own evil desires. Because sometimes you ain't got the right intentions either, sis, right? And sometimes we're seeking to control a thing. Ooh. Sometimes it's not even that you just want to, do something that would intentionally be dishonoring to the Lord, but sometimes you just want to be in control. And you need to lay that down. That's an evil desire. To try to control somebody else is an evil desire. Y'all, it's supposed to be dinner, even though it's lunch today. I do have like my little overnight oats that I made. This is not as a distraction as what I was trying to eat the last time that I was with y'all. But I ain't ate nothing. But anyway, I'm not going to keep y'all long, but I do want to say, if you are trying to control somebody else, you need to stop that. That is evil. And it does not help you at all in the dating world. Now, I'm not saying don't have autonomy over yourself. You definitely have autonomy over yourself. But very often, we're trying to control somebody else. And that's not it. So this is not a way to try to play games with people's hearts or to play games with people's time. You need to actually seek the Lord. And then do what he says. I am a living witness that God will give you strategy and help when you ask him. If you are just out here dating on your own terms and not consulting the Lord, you probably will find yourself more frustrated. You probably will find yourself, kind of like, ugh. Lord, where's my husband? Well, are you asking him about it? Are you like praying about it? And then when you pray about it, are you listening to God? Because you can't obey him if you don't listen. That's what we read in the scripture in John 10. Jesus was like, I told y'all who I was. You didn't believe me. My sheep listen to my voice. If your prayer time is one-sided, you might want to change that. In the dating world, in the married world, in any world you in, you want to make sure that when you pray, you're giving God an opportunity to speak back to you. Prayer is a dialogue, not a monologue. You're not just giving God a list of your prayers. And certainly, like, depending on where you are, sometimes you might, because you should be praying without ceasing. Like, that's what the Bible tells us. Like, the Bible encourages us to pray without ceasing. So really, it's not like you got to be still at home, either right before bed or right when you wake up, and that's the only time you can pray. You can pray even when you're on the way to work, or when you're in the shower. When you look, me and some friends of mine, we're talking about talking to Jesus in the bathroom, on the toilet, praying. Like, listen, you can talk to God at any time about anything, and that's one of the beautiful blessings. But make sure you're not the only one doing the talking. Because if you're the only one doing the talking, then when are you listening? And maybe you're listening later. It's not like God can't speak outside of the time that you dedicate to prayer. He can speak throughout the day. He was speaking to me when I was sitting there chilling with my sister. And I was like, oh, Lord, can I go? And that was the prayer. Oh, Lord, can I go? And he was like, no. And I was like, well, Lord, but don't you, in my head, I'm having a conversation with her while I'm talking to Jesus, right? So I didn't even say, sis, let me go to the side and pray for a second. I'm having this conversation actively while I'm still talking to her. And I'm like, well, Lord, I could kind of, go check the scene, see if this is something I can do. And he was like, all right, cool, but take your own car. Simple stuff. But you got to listen to the voice of the Lord. And you got to learn what that sounds like, right? Like, because he's not speaking audibly. And there are some people who have said that they've heard God's voice audibly. That's not my testimony. And I'm not going to say what God does and doesn't do. I don't think that he speaks audibly, but maybe he is to some folks. Or there's some type of audible voice that people can hear, and that's cool. But sometimes it's just like, it's kind of like this knowing, like he's speaking through thoughts, and you know they're not your thoughts. Or, you know, even sometimes like you'll feel the Lord speaking through your body. Like there have been times where I'm just like, ooh. Like all of a sudden when I know I need to pray for somebody, like when the Lord is calling me to pray, I'll have like this feeling in my chest or in my stomach that feels like tight. And I'll be like, ooh. And it's like I can feel, it's kind of like this wave going through my body, my upper body specifically, that I tend to feel when I need to stop and pray for someone. And sometimes there has been, I don't know if I dreamt this or if this was real life, y'all. So, because sometimes I get them both mixed up. But at some point, and I feel like this might have been in real life, but I don't remember the exact circumstance. But it was kind of like, oh, the bugs are out, y'all. Some random bugs. That's funny. Springtime is here. But I felt this, like, it was as if the Lord stopped my feet. So I couldn't walk beyond the point where I was walking. And that was something that God used to remind me to look around. And I can't remember if I ended up like just being, I feel like in that circumstance, I just ended up being led in a certain direction. Like my feet would not go beyond the place where I was standing. I had to turn like to the left or the right. And so sometimes God is speaking even through your physical body. But oftentimes like you can just feel God speaking to your heart. Like, and sometimes you just sense God in the way in which he opens things up. So even those smaller moments of obedience, praying about a date before you go on it, asking the Lord to lead your conversation when you're in the car on the way to the date, even seeking the Lord about what to prepare, or like a gift. Maybe you're already in a relationship. Here's the way that God uses obedience. My husband, I'm just going to give y'all an example. My husband is probably like the worst person to buy gifts for that I've ever met. The way that I like to give gifts, right? Because I like to give people gifts that they actually enjoy and that they can use. Like typically I like a good practical gift, but something that I know that you want, that you'll enjoy or that you want or whatever. And so my husband is very much the type of person who he buys what he wants. So there's nothing left to get him sometimes because he already buys the stuff that he wants. And very often he's not talking about things that he needs, that I can afford. My husband has expensive taste. Some of the things that he likes, just cost money, right? And that's cool. But like, there are just certain things that I'm just like, okay, I heard you say that. And so I started praying about gifts to get for my husband because I didn't know what to do. And it wasn't working out my way. Cause I've actually gotten him gifts that he was like, I don't like this. Right. And that's not good. So, so it's not that he's the most horrible person to buy gifts for. It's just that he's made me work for it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I've had to work a little bit more, which is cool, because then I was able to ask God, like, what should I get my husband for Christmas? And both of our birthdays are close to Christmas. We both have January birthdays. And so, and then it's like Valentine's Day or whatever. So I remember last year, technically the year before for Christmas, I bought him a gift that he really liked. And so I was like, yay, it worked. I love it. And I had prayed about what I should get him. And the Lord spoke and I did what the Lord said. I obeyed him and I got my husband a gift that he actually liked. And then for his birthday, I got him like an array of gifts. I prayed like, okay, Lord, here we go. What should I get for my husband? And the Lord led me to, and even my husband said out of his own mouth, it was like, babe, you really been on point with the gifts lately. I was like, I ain't been on point. God been on point, right? Because even in simple things, in our love relationships, in our dating relationships, like seeking God about gift giving, seeking God about where to go for dates, seeking God about how to speak, how to handle conflict. Like, these are the types of things that we tend to overlook in dating. And this, people ain't talking about this in church for real. But talking to God and asking him to lead and guide your steps in dating is the same with anything else. You ask God to lead and guide your steps with regards to work or your career. You ask him to open a door for you to get a job. You ask him, okay, Lord, what do I need to do? You know, some of y'all praying and asking God what to wear to church on Sunday, which I love, because that's something that I do too. Like, I'm intentional, like, okay, Lord, what should I wear today? And I'm not always, I won't say I do that every week, but like sometimes, especially when I'm preaching, I'm very intentional. Like, God, what do you want me to wear? Like, what would communicate what you're trying to communicate? Or what could I use as like a visual aid, right? Like today, I told y'all at the beginning, I'm putting on this necklace because I want to remember to talk about faith. I'm putting on this bracelet because I wanted to talk about my MS journey and how I know better and I did not do better. And it caused me to be disobedient to God and to be of a disservice to you all. So all of these things are important. Obedience to God in the small things. Obeying God for 20 minutes at a time instead of trying to obey God for, all of the rest of your life. Like, focus on small acts of obedience and watch God just unfold things before your very eyes, even in your dating life. If you're praying, I've heard of my own homegirl. She allowed me, she blessed me and let me be the MC at her wedding years ago. It was the first time I'd ever MC'd a wedding. It was such an amazing experience. But I remember she was praying about her husband, and she was trying like eHarmony for the first time. And she felt like God was like nudging her to do it. So she was like, yeah, I'll sign up for the free trial. And then when she found out how much it was per month, she was like, oh, I'm not paying for it after a month, right? Like, I'll do the little free trial and all that. And Lord, if my husband is on here, like, hey, let me meet him in this time because I'm not renewing this thing. And sure enough, she met her husband on eHarmony during that free trial. This is why we need to pray and obey, because she had not dated online before. She wasn't really open to it that much, but she kind of felt nudged to kind of be open to that. And sure enough, she found her husband. I got another girlfriend. She found her husband on Plenty of Fish, the hookup site. But she was looking for a serious relationship, right? And POF has not always had that reputation, but for the most part, that's kind of how people view it. But there are real quality people on POF. Well, there were. I don't know what it is now because she's been married for years. But what I'm saying is, sometimes, even if God is calling you to do something unconventional, the main thing is that you learn to listen to his voice and obey. Because he's doing things beyond what you can see. He's doing things beyond what you're thinking about, right? Because I disobeyed him. I wasn't thinking about what I had on my calendar, and I missed something that was very important. Obey God, even in dating, even with the step-by-step and the play-by-play. He's willing to give you wisdom. He's ready to give you wisdom. And he's ready to bless you and other people, right? Because when you get in a relationship, you are not the only person who's impacted, or you or your partner are not the only people who are impacted. You're impacting your friends. You're impacting your family. You're even impacting strangers on the street. One year for our anniversary, my husband and I went to Choco Town. It's like a little chocolate factory here in Michigan. And we went on a date. And we met these two women who were hanging out, and they were just friends hanging out. And we just kind of went through this, like the experience with them, had a great time, ended up going to dinner with them afterwards, and like connected with one of them on TikTok. And we've been connected ever since. Like, and it's just sweet little things like that. Like, you don't know what God is doing in you, through you, for you, and for other people. You have no idea. So it's just best that you obey. It's just best that I obey. And then we let God unfold the rest for us. And it's going to be tempting. We can be drawn away by our own evil desires and lusts. It was an evil desire for me to think that my plan was better than God's, and that it wasn't going to be that deep if I just rolled with my sister. I wasn't doing anything bad, but I missed out on something that God was calling me to do. I missed out on being obedient. I missed out on being led by a sovereign God. So don't miss out. I love you all. Thank you so much for joining me. Please, again, accept my apology for bringing this a day late and making it a lunch in dating instead of a dinner in dating with my little overnight oats. But I love you all. I'm praying for you. And I will see you next Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another edition of Dinner and Dating. See you then. Facebook Live. I'll see you there. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Have a great week.
Hey family, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If so, like, share, and comment. Y'all, I would love to hear your thoughts and address your questions. You can also click the link below to connect directly with me regarding individual or group coaching, speaking engagements, or to kickstart your marriage enrichment journey with Record of Right. Y'all, let's continue to grow as we go. God bless.